Talking About My Generation, the podcast with Lee Scriven and Del Bromham.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another edition of Talking About My Generation. You won't get fooled again.
See what you did there?
Yeah, you see what I did. We always put a Who one in there. We're delighted. This is a real special for me and Del. It's one we've been wanting to do for a while because we're at the world famous. And when I say world famous, it is famous around the world. A brilliant venue called the Stables
One
Theatre.
of my favourites, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got the lady, Alison Young, who works here and has the... I'd say privilege, really, of booking artists, though
you're right.
At times it probably doesn't feel like a privilege, but we'll go on to that. Alison Young is here to talk about the Stables, because we thought it'd be a good idea. We've talked about in previous podcasts that the struggle, really, the fight, to keep live music live and keeping venues open and talk obviously about the history of this brilliant venue. But as per usual, we have to start the podcast with the Beatles quiz. This one, I'll tell you what, Del. If you get 5 out of 5 out of this, I'll buy you a new hat. Okay.
Oh,
so there you
good
go.
boy.
You can
You're a
hold
lovely
me.
boy.
You can hold me to that one because you're going to think, oh, it's easier. I'm going to get a new hat, but there's a few in here that I edged and went, oh, I don't know about that. And there's one I definitely didn't get. So here we go. Beatles quiz as per normal.
Except last week when we had a Stones one.
Yeah,
I did all right in that one.
Yeah, you did actually. And I'll say on record now. Next time we do a podcast, you can set me a 5-question Who quiz.
A Who quiz, right.
Okay, so we'll see. Right, in which year did the Beatles hold all 5 top positions in the Billboard Hot 100 chart? 1963, 1964, 1965 or 1966?
I think it's 1965.
No, 1964.
1964, okay.
Ooh, 1-0 down. There we go. Okay.
Dodgy now.
This one, you might get it. 29th of August, 1969 was the last day that all 4 Beatles recorded together. Which track were they working on? I, Me, Me, Mine, I, Me, Mine, or Me, Me, Mine. Here Comes the Sun, Something, I Want You, She's So Heavy.
Was that when they were doing it at Olympic or Trident?
No, Abbey Road.
Oh, it was Abbey Road.
They're all at Abbey Road.
It wasn't Here Comes the Sun. What was the other ones? When You're So Heavy.
I, Me, Mine, Here Comes the Sun, Something, I Want You, She's So Heavy.
I think that was I, Me, Mine.
No, it was I Want You.
I was going to say that one. There you go.
Okay, so I did say it was a difficult
well,
one. So no, but the listeners will be going, I knew that. This one is bonkers. So we'll go through this one quickly. Which one of these people is not on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band? Oscar Wilde, Albert Einstein, Truman Capote, or Aldous Huxley?
Oh, I don't know. Because I don't really know what Aldous Huxley looked like.
No, that's a tough one. It's Truman. Right, but I reckon you might get these two. In the Beatles film Magical Mystery Tour, which other band appears in one of the sequences? So in the Beatles film Magical Mystery, there's another band that appears in one of the sequences. Was it the Scaffold, the Nice, the Sensational Alex Harvey Band, or the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band?
Well, the Bonzo Dog Band.
Yeah, you got it. I thought you'd get that one. What great. Did you ever see them live?
Yes, I played with them a couple of times. Once at the Hemel Hempstead Pavilion, and I can always remember the first person I saw was Legs Larry, and he just went, "Hi there."
They're ahead of their time, weren't they? They
Yeah.
were sort of like the Monty Python of the rock
yeah,
scene,
it was brilliant.
weren't
I mean, Roger Ruskin Spear, he had all the robots and everything on the stage. They were great. They were really good, and I saw them at the Albert Hall as well.
Really?
Yeah, I saw them. I played with them once and saw them about 2 or 3 times after that.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to jump to the last. Oh no, we've got to. There's the one. Oh right. Oh no, that's the talking point at the end. Which 1960s Beatles album was the only one not to feature a vocal from Ringo Starr? Beatles for Sale, With the Beatles, Help, and Hard Day's Night. I got this wrong. So.
He's on Beatles for Sale. don't think he's on Hard Day's Night.
Hey, well done. I thought that was tough. I got that wrong. Yeah, you got that right. Okay, so there you go, Alison. That's our little Beatles quiz that the punters seem to like.
I couldn't contribute to anything. I got them all wrong. So, but my excuse is I was born in 1967. So
right,
I was
Flipping
quite-
kids.
Yeah,
So I'll come out with the kids. I'm talking to Dave on the cameras here. Dave, I'll come out with kids and this is what I get.
Sorry. Okay, right, Alison, as per usual, we like to grill our guests, or just question our guests to give.
Sorry, but when you lean down, I get a load of reflection.
All right, but just live with it, Dave, because I can't. It's,
All right.
Yeah, it's not a film. I'll cut across, okay. Right, as per usual, we like to question our guests to give our listeners an idea of your musical influences and taste. So the first record you ever bought, Alison?
Okay, so like I said, I was born in 1967, so I'm kind of a child really of the 80s, I suppose. But my first record that I remember buying was Parallel Lines by Blondie
All right.
in 79. I'd been at a kid's birthday party and I heard Heart of Glass and I thought, what is this?
Yeah.
And scraped my pocket money together and went and found that vinyl.
So it was vinyl?
Oh
It
yes,
was,
yes, it was
lovely,
absolutely, it was
Vinyl
vinyl.
single, yeah.
My mum had an old pink dansette record player, so
Oh, nice.
it was used to playing things like opera and Kathleen Ferrier and all sorts of things. But then I started, I suppose, to introduce a little bit more contemporary music into that.
Okay, and that accent, you're obviously not from London.
No,
So whereabouts were you, when you bought this record, whereabouts were you?
I was in Inverness.
Ah, right.
So I was born in
North.
Glasgow, but when I was about 7, we moved to the north of Scotland. So and that's quite a key thing actually, because there wasn't a huge number of bands or artists playing in that area. Although, because we're talking about the Beatles, when they were the Silver Beatles, they did play in Inverness. I don't know what year it was, but there was like a ballroom which is now
Oh, wow.
long since gone, and they played there.
Wow, hopefully a blue plaque. There should be blue plaques up at these places, shouldn't there?
Probably quite a few.
It might have been Inverness, might have been, as you might tell us now, where you moved on from Inverness. But can you remember the first time you saw a band played? I'm not talking about a name band, I'm just talking about the first time you sort of witnessed live music in all its glory.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm probably, I don't know how your other guests have been, but I'm maybe a wee bit unusual in the sense that I grew up very much in a classical household.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was, classical music was my first kind of influence. My dad played the piano, my parents sang in choirs. So in Inverness, there wasn't a huge number, like I said, there wasn't a huge number of sort of venues that hosted bands, huge traditional music scene, bit of a jazz scene. But the first band that I saw was actually the Eurythmics in 1983 in Eden Court Theatre. So it was a seated theatre, 800 seats. It opened, I think, in the mid-70s. So I was really, really lucky to see them because I absolutely loved them. And I then saw Annie Lennox about 2017.
Right.
So a good 40-year gap.
That's a good band. That's a good band to see.
Yeah.
A lot of time from did change things.
Absolutely.
Dave Stewart, wasn't he? He's an absolute musical legend. Was there? Now you've got involved in the music industry, and it's lovely to hear that you were, surrounded by music, much like myself and Del. Del was your brother was in the band. You learned everything. He was just wherever you
I had no choice, I think.
And just for the record, so my dad was a professional drummer in a jazz band, and we just had music. It's just a lovely upbringing. I suppose if there had been phones and iPads, I probably would have been preferring the iPad to listening to Buddy Rich. At the time.
Having said that, listening to what Alison said about getting the Blondie record, it does kind of there's a slight parallel in as much as we had all sorts of music in our house. But I can remember, and I've said before, my dad really used to like his stereos and things. But he thought I'd gone round the bend when I brought home the single of My Generation by The Who. Particularly when it gets to the end where they're smashing everything up.
Yeah.
And I can remember he looked round at my mum and said, Sis, they've gone. Sis, I think he's gone. I think he's gone mad. That's a load of rubbish. That is.
Well, there was a generation gap there, which is I don't think. Well, I suppose some of the drum and bass and stuff like that, I would be saying exactly the same thing. You know, when you start saying it, you're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm old.
Yeah,
I should be understanding this." But there are some modern music genres that I'm thinking just like your dad. So yeah, and in a way, that's good. That's good that there's.
I do that all the time now. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's my dad's just said that.
Yeah.
When you do get older, you get more nostalgic, I think, for what was in your youth, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And as you say, I mean, we're all brought up in music, but with, myself and Dale, I went to see Dr. Feelgood at Dingwalls in 1975, and my first gig was actually The Who at Charlton, which is bizarre. But I've always say it on this podcast that when I saw them, they were such a stature, they were like rock gods. And I thought, I can't be you, but I worship you. But when I saw Dr. Feelgood at Dingwalls, there was a real engagement, as in, I can do that. Thank you for showing me this kind of thing. And it inspired me. And Dale, just remind me your one that was...
well, I'd seen lots of different bands, but the one that was my first proper paying gig was I went to see The Crazy World of Arthur Brown when I was 15.
And he's still going.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he's still going.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed he is, yeah.
Yeah, so if there was there a moment or a band or anything that's sort of, well, I really want, this is what I want to do, I want to get involved in the music industry, was there an epiphany moment?
I wouldn't say there was an epiphany moment. I think it was a kind of organic sort of thing of being surrounded by music in the family home, and then going to school, and I don't know if you did this at school, where they wheeled in the television and you did something called singing together.
Oh right.
And there was like a book, and you sang together basically with the television. And I think the school teacher said to my mum at a school, meeting, your daughter can sing. So that was quite interesting. I suddenly got encouraged to perform myself. And also, the other thing that happens in Scottish schools is that you have a test to tell if you're musical or not. So it's like they play a chord and they ask if it's happy or sad, major or minor, or how many notes can you hear, can you repeat back a melody. And if you're deemed to be musical, you got given an instrument.
I'm laughing because did that exclude drummers?
Yeah, I suppose it did actually.
Can you just slam your desk down in time? I don't know. I'm just but as soon as you said it, I thought, if I'd been at that school, what would I have done? I can't sing to save me life. I can't play a violin, guitar, but I could hit things quite well, So if we got there was a test.
I don't think I don't remember any drummers, but
I just wonder if they failed all the tests. You're a drummer. Sorry, drummers. I am one. I'm allowed to say that. Oh, that's lovely. Funny enough, you're saying that. My granddaughter, she really is into music. She walks around with my iPhone picking songs and obscure songs, the Bangles to the Beatles to Led Zeppelin, which is great. But my daughter, bless her, because she's a single parent, she puts her into after-school clubs, and she kept saying, I want to put you in the choir. She goes, I don't want to go choir. I don't want to go choir. Like she's a bit of a tomboy kind of character. And then Tuesday she went to it. She came out. She was absolutely glowing. And we all knew she would like it. She goes, oh, Granddad, it was great. It was great. I said, what'd you sing? Oh, I don't know. This is obviously a song. But the joy in it of collective
singing is an amazing thing.
I've always fancied singing in a choir because I can't sing, so I could just hide at the back and pretend to be quite good. But yeah, that's interesting you say that.
Oh, well,
I'm going to go on to the next one. I've got an idea I think you might say. Freddie Mercury is leading the list on this one. If there was a rock star who sadly passed away, who would you bring back?
Do you know... I hate to be such a cliche, but actually, yes, it was Freddie Mercury.
Oh, it is Freddie?
Yeah.
I thought it might be Mr. Bowie. I don't know.
No, well, yeah, I mean, Freddie Mercury, I'd certainly had a lot of Queen albums growing up, and I love a flamboyant frontman.
Well, you get more flamboyant.
I would say, yeah, and I would love to have seen them live. That kind of iconic National Bowl thing in Milton Keynes, what was it?
Mhm.
In the
they played there,
80s.
didn't they? Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that, or I would have loved to have seen Live Aid, I think.
You're a fan of Queen. Did you play with them, Del? You ever,
No, never did. Never
You're
did.
fun. I mean, I liked the really early stuff. Now I'm Here, and Sheer Heart Attack, the album. And I appreciated Bohemian Rhapsody for being the brilliant song it is, but I did get tired of it because it was at number one for about 9 weeks.
Yeah, you do get sick of
And
them
that was
after a while.
when the Dr. Feelgoods were coming and everything, and it was like, I'm not. And I sort of, from there on, I just sort of like, okay, you're good, and then of course Live Aid, you go, no, actually, you're really good, But I just wondered, you're on as a musician. Sheer Heart Attack and The Night at the Opera was the only 2 albums I went out and bought of Queen, and then I was sort of done. But I've always admired them, but never really engaged with them after that.
Same with me, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never did. Late 60s, Freddie and Roger had a stall in Kensington Market, clothes store,
Clothes store.
and I bought clothes from the pair of them up there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then I can't really talk about too much on here, but if you read Danny Baker's book, he's working in a record shop, and they marched in the record shop, and said, it was Freddie was like that, we're going to be really big, and I want you to play our album. It was the first one they made, and this little record shop that Danny used to work in, it was right near Denmark Street, where all the music places were. So, and if your record was being played in the record shop, they'd add some credibility. So, and anyhow, Danny has put the record on, and Danny turned around and said, "Yeah, it's quite good. It reminds me of a band I go and see called Stray." To which Freddie Mercury turned around and said, "Stray? They're just a pop band, a pub band."
Oh, pub band.
Yeah, a pub band. So that was.
That's dear Freddie, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, I liked all the. I thought it was very clever what they did. But I think at the time it lacked the soul to me, and I was listening to more American music and things at the time, so it didn't grab me like it grabbed the nation.
Yeah, but people love them, and rightly so. They were Queen. I'm going to talk about the Doors later on. There's only one Doors kind of thing, and there's only one Queen, isn't there? To be fair to them, and I think that's an achievement in itself.
Well, isn't it interesting, like Alison, you're saying about Live Aid? The two bands that were on there that came off arguably the best out of all of them were the 2 bands at that time, and I know because I was around at that time, were not very popular on the scene or ever, and that was Status Quo opened it, and Queen. It was almost like, who else can we get on? And both bands did better than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you two, I think, of the current crop came out of it very well. But it's a great story, isn't it? As in, they were all apparently Status Quo were backstage, and everybody was arguing about who. They hadn't even sorted out who was going to go on first. No one wanted to go on first.
No.
And Francis Rossi just let's just go and do it, because these guys have played Butlins, have played all the gigs. It's just a gig,
I was away.
And then they go on and then make the decision of rocking all around the world. I mean, talk about fate, as in a split-second decision, to go on. And I don't think it could have happened to a better band, if I'm honest.
You had Francis here.
Yeah.
We did. We've had Francis on his acoustic
There's another one
tour.
I couldn't come down because we'd messaged each other a couple of weeks before. And we're saying about nostalgia. And
amazing.
We were just saying. He said to me, "How you doing now?" Right. So I said, "Yeah, fine."
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh." He said, "What happened then?" I said, "Well, the secret was you had a better record label than I did."
Yeah, I want to touch on that. There's one more little question about your musical influences. But while we're on that, those type of shows seem to be very engaging with the public, where they've all seen Status Quo in their youth or in younger days or past days at Wembley Arenas and all that. But there's something special about someone sitting on an armchair and telling stories and then playing songs. It must be
Yeah.
popular. I mean, do you
It's-
agree with that sort
yeah,
of format?
I would agree. It's something that's become quite prevalent, I would say, maybe in the last 5 years or so.
Yes.
That some really quite, big artists, like Francis, high-profile artists, are doing these much more intimate shows and talking and revealing a bit more about themselves. But also, there's always music. There's always, a guitarist or a number of musicians with those artists, and people love them. And they also have they like the meet and greet format. I'm slightly ambivalent about that. I prefer, if I'm honest, the more you have the gig and then the artist makes themselves available to talk to everybody afterwards,
Right,
sign at the merch desk and all of that kind of stuff, which is lovely. But the meet and greet thing, it's a big thing now, and people do want to do it. So yeah, Francis Rossi was quite a coup to get him. He's been 3 times now doing that format, and now he's going into Milton Keynes Theatre, so he's taking the intimate format into a 1,500 seat theatre.
Because just to bring Dan in here, you've done this deal, haven't you? You've done it with Spike and you've done it with yourself. As a performer, I'd imagine it's really enjoyable where you can just take time to talk to the audience. You're not like, like a band, like we all know, I've got to get the first number and get on and rock them. And it must be a different approach, but it must be. I would have thought it's very enjoyable to do.
Yeah, I mean, when I do it, I mean, it's pretty much like having a conversation with us two. I don't have a set list.
Right. Okay.
I know roughly what I can draw from, but it's quite often with the conversation and reading the audience and get the demographic of what the age group is, and then I'll just do something similar. But I do try and make it a little bit of a history. And kind of related to my autobiography as well.
Yeah.
And but no, it is good. It's good musically. It's nice. It can be challenging sometimes, because it's just you and an acoustic guitar. You can't hide behind anything.
Yeah.
But that's quite nice. The thing I'm finding the most difficult is I like to tell a funny story now and then, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very aware now, as I've gone around the country 2 or 3 times doing it. Did I tell that story the last time I was here? But the funny thing about it is that it's a bit like the song. Yeah. I mean, my parents come up in my conversation quite often, and my dad. I could do a show about my dad and his stories, you see. And I think, I can't tell that story because I did that the last time I was here. I'm overthinking it now.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes to you, like they want to hear a song. Oh, you're going to tell us that one about your dad and the radiogram? But it's like they come to see you because they either want to hear something, or whether it's music or whatever.
We spoke about this off air, didn't we, with Phil Chamberlain at After Closed Studios, and he was saying that I doubt if you tell the story exactly the same, both on each occasion.
Yeah,
so it's like
it doesn't always come out the same.
It's a different version of something that's warm and cheers people up. I mean, I'm just going to think. I mean, Monty Python used to go on stage and do like
Tommy Cooper,
their TV show, and everybody knew every word. But they bought tickets and loved it. So it is. You're right. There is a symmetry, I think, between hearing your favourite song and perhaps a favourite yarn or story.
I do appreciate now that I reckon being a comedian is the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
Doing that, making them laugh every night, and you're going to tell them the same. You got a script to work for. That's probably why Billy Connolly was good, because he never had a script.
Yeah.
He just used to come on the
he?
shipyards and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, he did have jokes, but he turned them into stories with a punchline at the end.
Yeah.
That's just I can't. I mean, you're Scottish.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Robbie Burnsdale. Excuse me if there is one. Why isn't there a Billy Connolly Day?
Oh, well, maybe there will be, I don't know. Every day is a Billy Connolly day. I mean, I don't know. He's just, he's one of those national treasure.
National treasure, one-off. Yeah. Brilliant comedian, brilliant guy, great musician as well. And I've always thought that. Thinking, it's Burns night, and I'm thinking, yeah.
I met him many years ago when before he was known as a comedian, because he was sort of based in London with Jerry Rafferty.
Yeah.
And they came into the studios we were in, and I got my banjo, but he was very quiet.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you'd remember. I mean, going on your age here, but his appearance on the Parkinson show was as groundbreaking as David Bowie's Starman
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Top of the Pops.
absolutely.
No, seriously, everybody the next day said, "Did you see that guy? He's so funny." And
they're all telling the story about parking my bike.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and I think I knew a lot of Scottish people had moved down to Milton Keynes, and there was quite a strong. Yeah, most of my friends, and there was a lot of pride in it as well. As in, he's one of ours. He's not yours. He's ours. Get off him, kind of thing. There was a real ownership. So fair play to Billy Connolly. And this might be. You might answer this now with. No, it wouldn't be. Yeah. If there was one, I've never asked this one before, but because you're a band promoter and a booker and whatever. If there was, and I'll ask Dale, we're going to pick ours as well. If there was one current band or artist you could book for the stables, money no object. You've got the funding from Milton Keynes Council, as if. Who would it be?
Who would it be?
Who would you love to see in that room?
That's a really difficult one.
Well,
It's just me personally, Oh wow.
I'm going to state the obvious. What do you think? I'm just going to say Paul McCartney. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like to sit in a room with Paul McCartney and him just do what he does, little thumbs up and tell some stories, and just with an acoustic. I wouldn't want a band.
Yeah.
Just that, perhaps a piano, Hey Jude piano. I mean,
I'm sure he did.
If people are paying £400 to watch Oasis, I don't know what they would pay for that experience. But there you go. I mean, that's that's like a utopia.
Yeah,
Dale, who would you?
Yeah, that would be.
It'd have to be, wouldn't it?
My favourite band, the Beatles.
So, anyone else you could think that you would love to book, but it's like just out your reach, and we get on to the capacities and things like this. I wish I could get that band.
Oh, this is probably quite left field, and actually this is just very much about me, but the artist I've seen the most is probably Katie Lang, who's a Canadian artist. And I just absolutely have loved her work since I saw her at the Albert Hall in the early 90s. And I know the agent quite well, and every time I say, could we have a wee warm-up? And he'll go, oh no, we're using Glasgow Royal Concert Hall to warm up for whatever festival, whatever she's doing. She hasn't toured for many years now, and has said she might actually be done. So I might have missed that opportunity. So, but yeah, that's very much a sort of personal one.
That's a good point. I was going to come on to this, but now you've mentioned it, I feel for you, if I'm honest, because I've done promoting myself, and I remember jumping from a 200 capacity, very similar to the room we're in now, to a 300, and it was really difficult. And I think and I bring Del in here as well, as in, was it 380, 400 or 350?
It's 398.
Yeah, so I thought it was 400. I think the 400-seater venues are the hardest venues to book and promote for, because anyone a bit bigger is going to go bigger. Like you just said, Rossi, go to Milton Keynes Theatre. Anyone a bit smaller struggles. It's a really difficult... So, without upsetting your bosses or the Dankworths or whatever, would you prefer the stables to be 800 more than 400? Would it open up avenues for you?
That's an interesting one, because this isn't the first venue I've worked in. I used to work in Wickham.
Right.
So I had a 1,000-seat venue to programme the Wickham Swan Theatre, and also the town hall there, which was 600 standing or 400 seated. And actually they were harder to book for than I would say the stables. Actually, I quite like the 400 capacity. What's hard is the artists that attract 200. Yeah. And they're a little bit too small for our smaller room here at the stables, or too big for the smaller room, and sometimes a little bit, it can be tough in the bigger room. So,
I, from my point of view, I'm the person that Allison will book. From my point of view, I think there are venues around the country, but I think there's just a handful of venues that have a certain amount of kudos to them.
Oh yeah.
And the stables is probably one of them, if not the top of the list. Because I think there are artists who could. Well, there obviously are artists who could pull more than 400 in here. So consequently, they do 2 or 3 nights. That's right, isn't it?
That is true. Yes.
But there are some who, in some venues, they wouldn't do a couple of nights. If we can't get 800 in here for a night, we're not going to bother.
Yeah.
But the stables, it's a lovely venue to play for a start.
Yeah, I'll come back to the importance.
But no, I think.
No, you proved me wrong, I think. I'm always one to be proved wrong. Having been a promoter myself, I just think that's such a difficult. But then I suppose, like Del said, the good artist, Gilbert O'Sullivan's coming, isn't he? He's going to do 2 nights.
Sorry, who?
Gilbert Sutherland.
Oh, Gilbert O'Sullivan, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other one that fairly recently was Matt Van Morrison, who came and did a 3-night residency. He was doing a particular project. It was a skiffle project, but that was really exciting to actually have that come through.
Even the not well-known artists, but we were sort of before we were on camera, we were sort of loosely talking about tribute acts, and there are some tribute acts that do 2 nights here, aren't there?
Yeah.
There are, and you know, they're hugely popular and often musically very, very accomplished, and people want to hear the music.
But this is it. People want to hear the songs, the music.
Yeah.
The music, I think, ultimately is more important than the artist.
But
in
we
some
always try to
respects.
keep a balance. I mean, our main focus is always going to be original artists and encouraging new and established artists to be playing original music.
But
So
they are important, aren't they? Tribute bands to the survival of live music venues.
Absolutely. You know, they're part of that ecosystem, part of that mix, and people do want to come and hear them. And I mean, it's an interesting thing because one artist we have quite a lot is a guy called Elio Pace. He's a piano player. He first came here, I think, with Albert Lee and Hogan's Heroes as their pianist, and he handed me a card and said, "I've got I play my own music, I'd really like to come." And at that point, he was then the piano player for Wogan's Sunday show, I think. He was like house band. And he came and he did, I don't know, the show didn't do brilliantly. It was like 100, 150, and it was really, really difficult. And then he started doing a Billy Joel tribute.
He does the Billy Joel thing,
He does, yeah. So he does the Billy Joel songbook, but he also...
So John Brett was saying about him.
Yeah.
Is this the guy who ended up being in the Billy Joel band? Because there was a Billy Joel tribute in America, which was so good. Billy Joel, but because again, the reason I say it because he was such an accompanist piano player and keyboard player, that in the end, Billy Joel got him in to play keyboards in the band and do all the sound checks.
I don't think
So he didn't have to go.
that is a
I think-
brilliant
I
story,
think-
but I don't
That's
think
a true
it's
story.
Elio, although I think he has had...
Oh, right, okay,
I
just
think he's
wondered.
had Billy Joel's guitarist in his band
Yeah.
come across here, but he's done all of he'd done the albums from start to finish. So he's done the obscure stuff as well as the really famous stuff, and he came here twice a year and would do all of the albums. And he finished that project maybe a couple of years ago, and he said, "Allison, can I come back now and do my own stuff?" So he came back last year, and it sold out.
Brilliant.
And that is brilliant to see. That's people
Yeah.
kind of going, "We know your work with Billy Joel, but actually we've fallen in love with you and we want to hear your original music."
That's great.
So
That's great.
there are all these stories within stories which are great.
Yeah, going back to what Dale was saying, this is a very special place. I would have thought really it's coming very closely to become under the national heritage. You know, like the city centre's got and a bus stop, a bus station for some reason in Milton Keynes has got, because it is really special. I mean, I was around in '74 when the stables was just been started, and I know my Milton Keynes history, and I know all the Milton Keynes Development Corporation said it was absolutely vital. You know, the importance it played in the cultural development of Milton Keynes was just, it was so important. It was so important, and we're in the original part of the venue. And for those of you watching, we will just shoot a little bit of after we've done the podcast. Myself and the cameraman, we're going to show. I'm going to try and hopefully just show the auditorium.
I saw Spencer Davis
a
group
little
here
bit. Yeah,
in the
But,
80s, early 80s.
Yes.
but it is special. Does the spirit of the Dankworth still is it still present in the way you book bands and the way you approach things?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's always in the back of the mind. I mean, when John and Cleo, so Sir John Dankworth and Dame Cleo Lane started the venue, they bought the old rectory next door, and the area that we're sitting in was the old stables, but it was also a nut and bolt factory in the 60s, I think. I found out quite recently, actually, that what they made in this nut and bolt factory was the bits that fit the toilet seat onto the toilet, onto the porcelain. So we are now officially part of the toilet circuit.
Playing at your convenience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that.
I mean, but when they decided we want to open a venue in our back garden, and they enlisted all of their famous friends and musicians to actually bang the stage together, paint the walls, really hands-on stuff. But what was unique about it was that it wasn't their private venue. They constituted a charity called the Wavendon All Music Plan. They gifted the buildings and the land around the buildings to that charity, and there was a board of trustees. So although it was their baby, they set it up in such a way that it would continue beyond them.
And
They were very community spirited, because I can let me tell you a story, which is not a musical one. That my partner Annie, she used to work at Wavendon First School, which was the little school around the back, and they were just like infants and junior school kids, and they used to walk them across the road, and Cleo and Johnny let them use their swimming pool to do swimming lessons in there.
Yeah, very, I think very, very kind people, and of course, huge in the sort of the jazz world, and we do obviously still have a lot of jazz musicians come through the venue, but the Wavendon All Music Plan vision was to break down barriers between different types of music. So there was never a feeling that it was just a jazz venue, even though they were predominantly known as jazz musicians, although they were also involved with film and TV and light ents, and Cleo was a massive music theatre.
I think Ronnie Scott's in London is got the same kind of thing. It was when it opened, it was a jazz club, but now they have all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkwind's played here, and we've had Uriah Heep and UFO, and so we've done this sort of hard rock thing, but we also do folk music, a lot of classical music, and a lot of crossover stuff.
Well, and the other thing, let me come in there, which people won't go to spend too long on it, but it should be noted. You just mentioned today, well, we're in here, there's 150 school kids in the building.
There are.
There
will be.
And you do a lot of educational musical workshops.
Yes.
It's not just, there's a band on tonight kind of thing, but so the listener knows. I mean, most people in our manner know that goes on, but I think it's an important part.
I've got the urge now to run in and try and teach the kids to play the recorder with their nostrils. It's always a trick at school, unless you've got a bad cold.
While we're talking about the venue, new arena coming.
New arena, yes.
4,000 seats. Are you excited by that, or are you a little bit concerned? Or I mean, it's a couple of years away, but it is difficult. What I was saying.
Well, judging by what we were talking about, it's not going to affect here.
No, you don't. You hope it wouldn't.
No, I mean, I think it's a growing city. It was always bound to happen that more venues were going to.
I thought it would happen sooner, actually.
Up. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, operated by AT Entertainment.
Yeah, AT,
so they obviously have the theatre as well, which is just 1,500 seats. Yeah. So they might lose the top end of their programme off into an arena. Particularly the comedy side of it, perhaps. I don't know. It will attract bigger bands. I'm quite intrigued to see what will happen.
Yeah.
I don't know that it will affect us massively.
I don't think it will. I think also the old chestnut, which we spoke off camera, Alison, is ticket prices.
Oh, ticket prices.
And I've been talking to various people, audience members and things to come to my gigs, that as the general feeling I'm getting from a lot of people is that either a point of principle or just for economy, a lot of people don't or can't afford to pay the exorbitant prices that the big venues are charging. Like £150 a ticket or something. Two of you go out, that's £300 before you've had a meal. I can fly over to Spain for that for a weekend.
Yeah, I'm done. I think I spoke to you off air the last couple of weeks. I'm done. I'm not paying that anymore. Yeah, and I love live music. And the last time I paid about £150 to see The Who at the Royal Albert Hall, which is like, okay, and that was in a box, thinking, well, that's probably worth it.
But here we are in the
then
stables,
the
and you can see live music
Yeah.
for a reasonable admission fee.
And I think that's why,
Yeah.
they say is you've had people picking up on tour saying, haven't they, that, they they've had enough. And
Well, I mean, I did the tour before Christmas, and every night was sold out.
yeah.
Every night. I mean, we didn't expect that at all. And then we've done quite a few shows since Christmas, and they've all been well attended.
Yeah. How difficult was it in COVID?
And COVID, it was...
Well, and post-COVID,
It was
the aftermath of COVID. Probably,
Yeah.
I didn't really ask that question.
I mean, I think it was incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult for the whole country, obviously, but venues, theatres across the country, it lasted just that bit longer for us because we were subject to closure for a much longer period. I think I moved, I would say, 600 shows.
Wow.
So my determination was we will not cancel anything. We will move everything. But of course, because it kept on extending,
Yeah, you didn't
I was
know.
moving the same shows 3 times.
Yeah.
So I think we delivered the last show that was a cancellation, or not a cancellation, but postponement, in 2023. So it took quite, it was 2 years
So
after we reopened.
So it took a couple of years then.
Yeah. I think we lost 12 shows that were not rescheduled for whatever reason, and that wasn't actually maybe our decision, but it was more the artists that decided not to reschedule. But and testament to our audiences that they held on to their tickets. We held on to the ticket money, so it wasn't that we were having to refund, which would have absolutely killed most venues. To suddenly have everything going out. We were all furloughed, I think, for a certain amount of time, and then we came back for a couple of days a week, and then we were fortunate enough to get some cultural recovery funds, which helped us to kind of rebuild and reopen. And the interesting thing was when we finally got a kind of reopening date that we can open to full capacity. And before that, we ran films and things outdoors on the grass mound outside the stables.
I remember,
we did films, and then we ran socially distanced gigs. There was a few. In fact, John Coughlin's quote, funnily enough, came and did, playing to 100 people in there. We'd worked out if we left the prerequisite amount of seats between that we could fit people in, and so. Artists also, they wanted to work, they wanted to come back and do gigs, and so we did as many of those as we could. But when we were told we could finally reopen, and we produced a printed brochure, because we're still very much, we don't just do digital marketing, we're old school marketing, and it hit the streets, and we did £150,000 in one day when we opened the bookings. That was 3 times our best ever. So it just re-emphasised that people were desperate to get back to live stuff.
That's good to hear.
We did a bit of filming too, but I
have heard at other venues where one of the ramifications of COVID was people were a little bit more reluctant. Sounds like it wasn't here at Stables to buy advance tickets, which can be quite painful for venues, not knowing if the audience is coming and the artist, but it sounds like you got through that.
We did. I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I've heard this a lot from other venues on the circuit, that people do book at the last minute. For some reason, it doesn't quite seem to happen at the Stables. I don't know if it's because we're like an out-of-town venue and people have to plan to get to us, but we can usually tell where the problem shows are going to lie because people haven't advanced booked. But we can have shows that are 6-8 months out that are already sold out, and
I've noticed
we are always looking ahead. I track everything, and so we can know where we need to put that marketing resource to get people through. But we've been consistently busy, I think, since COVID. I think the big casualty that we had was we couldn't reopen our restaurant, because the space that we're sitting in, which is also our second space, also operates as a restaurant pre-show, and just the costs of food and utilities and all of that meant we couldn't reopen that until last year.
Great, okay. Well, thanks for that. Stay with us, because I'm just going to do a roundup to finish off what happened on this week in previous history. But that's been really interesting, especially about the advance and everything. And I think, as we said, the Stables is a really important venue, not just to us in Milton Keynes. I think it's important to artists all around the world, and especially in the UK.
Absolutely.
You agree, Del?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you say about the 400 venue, I think you're right. I think artists want to play them kind of capacities. I think arenas can just, or big rooms can just turn, every big room's a big room, and it hasn't got an identity and a history of this venue.
I did a tour before Christmas with Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, and he's got like a side project called British Lion, and I did the shows with him, and this is if he does British Lion shows again, this is the sort of place he would go to, and he does ask me, he said, well, where's a good place to play? Because he just loves playing music, and he's in Europe now with Iron Maiden, and when you think about it, you think, he's how lucky is he? But he started off playing in the clubs and that, and he says, you can picture it now, can't you? Being in a stadium, it's probably about 100 feet before he sees the first person. He doesn't see the whites of their eyes, and he just said to me on many occasions, he says, I just love being back in that environment where I'm with people.
Yeah.
You can get the vibe off of people, off of the room.
I took a call a few years ago from one of Robert Plant's Saving Grace band. It was we really, really want to come and play the venue, and we had a pencil on the date, and then of course the agents and the money people kind of get a bit involved.
That show that Robert does now would be great.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had it. He's come back again. We were talking about famous people sitting in the audience and sitting in the auditorium, and he came back to see Johnny Eccles and Love, and he brought the entire band, Saving Grace band, to actually watch because he was such a fan.
Because you've actually had Paul Weller and Rod Stewart in the auditorium. Tell us about that just before.
So Jim Cregan, the guitarist, played in Rod Stewart's band, and he now has his own band. He plays his own original music, but he also does like a Rod Stewart songbook with a singer called Ben Mills,
which he wrote. He wrote a lot of.
And we just got a call sort of about the week before saying Rod's coming to see his son playing with the MK Lightnings, the ice hockey, and he'd like to come. And we were like, we weren't quite sure whether he would actually kind of rock up. And the show did start, and he wasn't there. And then the white Rolls Royce come in at the back, and the staff sneaked him in to the side. And I think it was one of those kind of eyes swivel, who's in the audience. And I think we were all kind of maybe secretly hoping that he might just go up and do a wee quick guest slot, but he didn't. To be fair to me, let Jim and Ben and the guys kind of get on with their show.
You'd have to have a double take, wouldn't you? If you were just in the audience, and you go, that bloke, I look like Rod Stewart.
Bloody tributes again.
Another tribute.
You tribute?
Yeah.
I think it probably appealed to a sense of humour. I get the sense, not that I've ever met him, but that he has a good sense of humour. Probably.
And Paul Weller popped down as well.
Paul Weller came to see Suggs from Madness. Suggs does a really lovely one-man show with piano, and he just slipped in and watched that as well.
I bet Suggs weren't happy because I think he was saying most of the audience were looking at Paul Weller.
Yeah, you do get that, and you see the sort of the sneaky photos happening and stuff. But
I remember coming here years ago. I couldn't believe my luck. I mean, I'd done a show with this particular person many moons ago, but I couldn't believe it. They had Steve Winwood here many years ago, and I'm thinking, I can't. And I got a ticket, and I'm sitting, I'm watching his feet play the B3, but doing the bass. I'm thinking, this can't be real. And I'd seen him not long before that with Eric Clapton at Wembley, and there is Steve Winwood in here. Yeah. I didn't get to speak to Steve, but I spoke to his wife, because the reason I play a Gibson Firebird was because when I was about 17 years old, I played with Traffic, and he had this particular guitar. and I had my guitar stolen, so I thought, I'm going to get a Firebird if I'm going to get another one, and that's.
Yeah.
But Steve Winwood in the stables, yes.
Yeah, I think there was a queue at the front doors when they put the tickets on sale, like going all the way down. I mean, the other person that I remember quite clearly coming was Charlie Watts, and he played with Axel Zwingenberger and
right.
and Ben Waters, and quite early on in the afternoon, and this does happen from time to time, you get a whole sea of cars at the back with quite often it's chaps with their vinyl sitting there waiting to get an opportunity to
that must have been why I got a ticket, because Annie was working. My partner Annie was working in the school opposite, so she must have run across the road.
Quite possibly, but yeah, so Charlie Watts he rocked up, but he didn't come round the back. He came in the front door and he sat in the foyer. And went, "Can someone make me a cup of tea?" And he just sat there, and everyone's sitting out the back, and he was just there, and he was just. Yeah. Lovely.
Just Charlie
Watts. I'm sure someone recognised him, innit, really?
Well, he was very unassuming.
Some old bloke out there.
Yeah, what's a cup of tea? Good God. Yeah.
I think Charlie could look after himself as well. It's great stories, great story. I mean, I remember just on that, where you're saying George Martin, when he did his one-man show. Yeah, like you. I was right at the front.
Yeah.
He was literally where our cameraman is now, 6 foot away, and it was just like... Yeah. And, you know, I can't remember it because I think I was just in awe of being in the same room as him. You know, an absolute gentleman and an absolute genius.
Yeah, he was a patron of the stables, and he gifted us a lithograph of yellow submarines. Wow. So at some point, if we ever get down on our uppers, we might the stables might sell it. So.
Right, I'm just going to wrap up with some moments in rock history. I'm not going to go through them all, but this one I really like. 1970, the Kinks' Ray Davies was forced to make a 6,000-mile round trip to New York to London to record one word in a song. He had to change Coca-Cola in Lola to Cherry Cola. I mean, it sounds... Well, there's two things on this. It sounds bonkers that an artist would be that bothered. But what you have to remember is like that was going on Top of the Pops. So it was, 20 million people in one moment were going to hear that song. So you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a phone. He couldn't even go into a studio. Like they didn't have the technology for him to go in. They just think, poor old Ray.
We'll get the tape out.
Yeah. 6,000 miles.
Right, when he kept to that bit, Cherry.
Yeah. Just one word. It's not as if... it made me laugh. Moment in time, really, I think it was amazing. 1967, The Doors, Light My Fire, number one. Can you remember that, Del? Because that was one that we talk about this, where music was just constantly changing sonically and in its shape and its form. I mean, it was a cover version, wasn't it? But it was a remarkable sound. Would you agree? Or am I reading too much into it?
No, it was kind of definitely of the time. I can remember being 15 years old. I think my band were the youngest bands to play at the Roundhouse, 15 years old, and when you went into the Roundhouse, it was you could smell the
Jamaican
petuna oil. But I can remember a couple of they used to play a lot of Creedence Clearwater, Keep On Chugling from the first album, and The Doors. They were like the two bands that was always being played in the Roundhouse. And about a year after that, they came to the UK and they played the Roundhouse. I didn't go, but Gary Giles, my original bass player in my band, he was a huge Doors fan. And he went. And talking of Doors fans, Simon Ronaldo, who plays keyboards with me, he's a big Doors fan.
Yeah, you can tell.
He'll tell you anything you want to know about the Doors.
Sean, I think their biggest mistake really was that they turned down Woodstock, didn't they?
A lot of them did.
Yeah, a lot of the bands did, but I think the Doors more than anyone, I think, would have absolutely smashed it and might have changed the course of history. I think that one if they'd have played that. But remarkable band, and we were talking about Queen, weren't we, earlier on? I think they've. You get bands who sound like the Doors now, but obviously the Doors didn't sound like anyone when we know the Doors. A little funny one here at the end. A bit sad story in a way. 1964, during a photo session, Ringo Starr was taken ill because he got tonsillitis, and they were about to go on a European tour. I think it was Holland, and the Beatles. And this is the point I want to talk about to you is. what surprises me, the Beatles just went and got a drummer. It was a session drummer called Jimmy Nicol.
Jimmy Nicol, yeah.
But I wondered if they like Clem Clatini or anybody else, because he did look like a Beatle, didn't he? He had the Beatle
I
look.
think it's probably.
I think that's what it was.
I think it's
wasn't
probably it. Yeah.
And he did the little. I think it was 15 dates.
Was it Europe? I thought it was Japan, but.
He did go to Japan as well, I believe. Yeah, Europe and Japan, and I think reading the books that we've read.
Yeah.
Bands are bands, and it can be brutal. It was like, right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Tell her.
But they did give him a gold watch. They gave him a gold watch. But the sad part of the story is that he never really recovered from it.
No.
He never. It was such an emotional, big moment that he did. I think he passed away in the 80s, I believe, and he was bankrupt and whatever. But he's the only drummer who ever played, apart from Pete Best, but that Beatles, that shape, over there. And I'm just thinking, I think if he'd have still been around now, I think he would get revered for being this person. And obviously the gold watch would be worth a fortune, And I think he had a thank you letter with it. But there you go. That was a bit of a sad story. Hoping not to upset you all on it, but just as though it was in a moment of time. And then just last one, Rolling Stones, 1972, kicked off their 7th North American tour, and it grossed 4 million. 1972. That didn't do bad.
That's a lot of money in there.
No,
It's a lot of money now, but
he did go to School of Economics, didn't he, Mick? And there is talk of Mick. Well, I mean, if you can believe what you read now, I should have read it on the BBC really, but apparently Mick Jagger is saying he really wants to tour. So,
I saw a thing only this morning on like a social media thing, an interview with Jagger that he wants to do. I want to do some more. I want to go and play.
So I think you're going to be on the phone, Alison. Little warm up. Well, they did do
lovely,
the 100
wouldn't it?
Club. They did.
They do.
We did.
They do it.
And we were talking about Paul McCartney earlier. He did the Cheese and Grain in Frome, I think, before he did Glastonbury. So
Ian McCartney did that.
Never say never.
Never say never. Well, thanks, Alison. Thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Busy being a promoter, and it's been lovely to talk to you, and you, Del, and you, the audience. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll be back next week.
And thank you for Dave on the cameras.
Oh, yes, must say
Dave on the cameras.
You're welcome.
That's it. We got him talking as well, and now he's going to want more royalties. Never mind. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great.
Talking About My Generation, the podcast with Lee Scriven and Del Bromham. Talking About My Generation, the podcast with Lee Scriven and Del Bromham.